Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. I'm your host for this week, Ashwin. I'm joined by DJ, and because of the time zones at which we wanted to record this after India's third match against South Africa, Varun is not joining us because it's middle of the night for him. DJ, I honestly don't know where to start this episode, man. We've just lost the Test Series 2-1 after winning the first. And then, of course, we have been whitewashed in the ODI series, 3-0 against South Africa. KL Rahul getting the unique distinction of being the first Indian captain to lose each of his first three ODIs in charge, first ever. And India's fifth time only getting whitewashed in an ODI series, more than 3 games. So it's a lot of stats out there. But how are you feeling, man? Let's start with that.
I'm okay. I'm okay. But I have a question for you, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Was the Indian team, what was worse, the Indian team's performance in these ODIs, or you and Varun picking the ODI team in the last episode of Edges and Sledges?
Why? We could have picked a better team than they actually fielded, it looks like.
Oh my God, it was...
We picked a horrendous team, and we may have done better than losing 3. It couldn't have gone worse, right? Come on, it couldn't have gone worse than 3.
I think that's $1 million question. Which was a worse performance? But yeah, it's pretty, honestly, it's pretty sad, right? Like 3-0, completely unexpected. I mean, I think if you asked the bookmakers before the series started, they would have pegged India as the favourites in the ODI team as well. Pretty much full strength, maybe no Jadeja, maybe no Hardik. But other than that, we had almost everyone, and we played almost everyone, right? Like,
I mean, I think the Rohit missing is pretty big for ODIs.
Yeah.
But
Rohit hasn't played for so long. I've actually forgotten that he's in this squad.
Yeah,
like it's been a long time since I watched Rohit bat.
Yeah,
but he'll be back for the IPL, I'm sure. I mean, how could
unquestionably he'll be back for the IPL. So anyway, lots to uncover. 3-0. Let me before we're going to spend a little bit of time in this episode double clicking on what happened, a little about the ODIs, etc. Let me start with a quick question to you on KL Rahul, right? Because there is a school of people out there. So there's 2 things starting to happen. Social media is a dangerous place, very disappointing for cricketers at some point. But there's 2 schools out there. One, people are saying, hey, this third ODI felt like a Punjab run chase where you should have won, then at some point you should have lost, then you got really close again with the last 2, and then you were like 5-7 runs short of the chase and then just blew it up again. But there's also a lot of people saying, look, let's remember in 2020, we lost to New Zealand 3-0 in ODIs. We lost to Australia 2-0 after that. And then we lost to South Africa 3-0 again now. So this is more systemic. This is kind of the thing you and I have been talking about, that India plays 50 over cricket the way we wanted to play T20, and we play 20 over the way we want to play 50. How much of the burden of a 3-0 loss is the new skippers and the new coaches to bear?
But they're easy targets, right? Because Rahul Dravid's just come and he's taken charge of a team. They've lost the Test series. Now they've lost the ODI series. KL Rahul has sort of taken over midway through the series when Kohli was injured in the Test series and Rohit was injured. So he's a stand-in captain. So you wouldn't have actually been expecting to captain at all on this tour. So it's a bit unfair to be giving him flack. Obviously, all captains learn. South Africa isn't the easiest place to go. So I'd cut him some slack. He's not, to my mind, going to be the permanent skipper for the next 3 or 4 years. I think you guys talked about it in the last episode. There will be a holding period of 2 or 3 years in the Test and the ODI arena where somebody else like Rohit, who's got more experience, takes over and then you have an all-format captain again. You basically transition from Kohli all the way to Rohit, and then 2-3 years later, when Rohit was 34, hangs up his boots. You have a Pant, Rahul, maybe a Bumrah put up their hand at that point. So I wouldn't blame him personally. It seems very harsh and unfair, but the problems and patterns that have developed in Indian ODI cricket, particularly the lack of wickets in the power play, where I think we had the worst average out of all the teams, bar one. I think maybe I don't know who had a worse bowling average than us, but in the power play. But there was one team that did, which is pretty shocking if you think about India as one of the powerhouses. And team selection, I mean, you've got Hardik, you've not got Hardik Pandya, but you've got Shardul Thakur scoring runs, you've got Deepak Chahar scoring runs, but your batters can't get 50s and 60s, they need to score hundreds. So Yeah, issues right from number 1 all the way to number 11, right?
Let's start with team selection then, because I agree with you on South Africa being a tough place to play. I agree with you on there's just been turmoil, right? Let's just be honest. Let's call a spade a spade. Virat Kohli's been out, and I will talk to you in the second section of our discussion today about Kohli's approach and attitude and intensity, because he batted well. He was the second highest run scorer, but it felt like he was a little bit different out there. But let's start with team selection. Let me first start you off with the statement that Rahul made before the first ODI, which was, I will open the batting, right? I've flexed before. We've talked about middle, lower order, etc. In the absence of Rohit, he's opened in T20s, he's opened in tests, etc. You've immediately basically shut down the chances of a guy like Ruturaj Gaikwad of playing. And again, in Varun and my botched team selection last week, one of the things he said very clearly is Gaikwad is too classy a player to leave out. He gives you stability at the top and gives you options. So was that the right move? Was Rahul and Shikhar the right move?
See, for me, long term, Rohit is going to open the innings with Shikhar Dhawan, right? In the ODI game, at least. There's no point for KL Rahul opening the batting. Why people queue up to open the batting in ODI cricket when what you need is a number 5, where he was fairly successful. He was scoring runs at that number 5 position. So, for me, that was putting there's no long term strategy and long term thinking there. It's like, okay, we've lost Rohit. Who's the next best player to bat up there? Okay, KL Rahul, I'm the captain, I'm going to bat up the... What is the thinking behind that? It doesn't make much sense. I mean, I don't know what Rahul Dravid's input in all of this is, because if he's going to lead this team to an ICC trophy, he's like, why is KL Rahul opening the batting? Is he going to bat there long term when Rohit comes back? No, because you're going to want to have a left hand, right hand combination. And Shikhar batted okay. He didn't set the world alight, but he batted okay.
He was our highest run scorer this series.
Yeah, but that isn't saying a lot. No one got 100.
Fine.
Pant got 85, but like if your highest scorer in the series is 85, that's not good enough.
But if the highest scorer in the series, the second highest run scorer for India made 116, which was Kohli. Third was Pant at 101. You can't fault Shikhar for making 169 across three games.
I'm not faulting him. I'm saying are going to keep him in. So Shikhar is going to open with Rohit. So what's the point of Rahul opening? Right? So bat Rahul at number 5. Maybe the logic that they were thinking is like, okay, have a look at Sky, we'll have a look at Iyer. Those guys will bat further down the order. So maybe that was what they were thinking. But to me, honestly, that opening slot is not up for debate. So we should have given Rutu a game.
I mean, there's a school that says if there's really no long-term play for Rutu until Rohit and Shikhar step down, then what's the benefit of playing him now, right? Like let's play the guys who are gearing up for the middle order, because Ruturaj could have made 3 centuries, and you're still going to say as soon as Rohit comes back, Rohit and Shikhar are the base plan until one of them retires. But anyway, we'll come back to that. There was a decision in all 3 games to send Rishabh Pant at 4. Talk to me about that one, right? Obviously, he had a good second ODI. So Kohli played 3, no question about that. He batted well in the first and third games, but Rishabh batted at 4. Was it in all 3? Definitely in the first and the third. I think he batted at 4 in the second match also. So talk to me about that decision, right? There's a little bit of a lefty-righty type of discussion. There's a little bit of like, you've talked a lot about Pant, how Pant should get more time out there because he's an explosive batsman, but you're mostly talking about T20s. Talk to me about that call.
I like it. I honestly, the higher the Pant bats, the better for me. I mean, for me, I've always said he should be opening the batting. He's the natural replacement for Shikhar Dhawan when Shikhar goes, right? Push him up. You've just watched Quinton de Kock score 124 runs today. There's no reason why Rishabh Pant can't give you that opening the batting. He's got all the shots. He takes the bowling on. He's not going to take a backward step, but it's a good sign watching him. Today he got a first ball duck. Fine. But he got 85.
We'll talk about that. He got a lot of flack for that. But
he got 85 in the last game and he batted really well. He got out trying to accelerate, and I don't mind that. I mean, who are the other people who would select themselves at number 4? Iyer is probably one of them. Iyer, maybe Sky can bat 4. Who would the other options really be at number 4? KL Rahul would be another option battling for number 4, but yeah,
I think in this setup, the question was specifically, so let's keep going down the order. The specific question was Shreyas Iyer and the choice to say, hey, are we grooming him as a 4? Because remember, 4 has been the chaos for us, right? We went from Vijay Shankar to Rayudu to all of these guys have batted 4. And the last few months or a couple of years have led us to believe that Shreyas Iyer has earned that spot. Didn't have a great series, obviously, this time. But anyway, 4 and 5, Pant and Shreyas Iyer. Number 6, and again, we've talked a lot about how absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think the most successful player this series for Team India, for Test and ODI, has been Ravindra Jadeja, because his absence has made us really, truly appreciate how much we miss him. But Venkatesh Iyer got a cap to play at number 6. Didn't bat, made 2 runs. And then amazingly, actually, didn't bowl a single over.
Yeah.
And so then your question becomes, if Venkatesh Iyer is not in the team as an all-rounder, and let's put out there, right? Thakur bowled 10 overs for 72. Bhuvi bowled 10 overs for 64. I'm just talking about the first game. I mean, it's not like these guys were all bowled brilliantly and said, let's not toss the ball to our all-rounder. So what do you think the thought process was in that first game to say, let's bat Venkatesh Iyer at 6, but not give him a ball? If he doesn't get the ball, is he India's best choice for number 6 as a pure batter?
So he was told, I think, he was asked, Rahul, after the game, why didn't you bowl Iyer? And he said the spinners were getting turned, so we wanted to bowl the spinners, which is probably fair. I mean,
no, but nobody was saying to
guess.
bowl him in space of spinners. Bowl him in space of Thakur and Bhuvi, who got smacked.
Yeah. We could have given him a shot, but I mean, I guess Thakur and Bhuvi are better bowlers than both of those than Iyer. So again, you see the rationale behind
your
it.
5 bowlers will always be better than your all-rounder.
Correct.
The point of the all-rounder is not to be a better bowler standalone. It's to be to give you an option on the day one of your guys is not having a good day.
But did they have a really bad day? I don't know. Went at 7. So
7 and
I don't
7.2 and 6. But like Thakur bowled 3 no balls and 2 wides. Bhuvi bowled 4 wides. Like they obviously weren't having the best day.
True. Plus, I mean, the other guy who could have opened the batting instead of Rahul could have been Iyer. I mean, that's what he does in the IPL. Though, to be fair, he did bat down the order in the Vijay Hazare Trophy. That's why he scored a lot of runs, because he was told he's going to be a finisher. And I mean, he's obviously got talent with the bat, and he can bowl. So if you're looking at a World Cup, a T20 World Cup upcoming later in this year in Australia, definitely an option. You want a seaming all-rounder who can hit the ball big. Plus, India in 2 years, even Shreyas Iyer has been bowling. He bowled 3 overs today. So it's becoming more and more interesting in that middle order, people who can roll their arm over. But, I mean, honestly, you should have just given him a couple of overs in the first game, right? Why not? It was not like anything else was really working. So, but again, maybe it's some Punjab 11 captaincy.
Tough discussions to have, no easy answer. And again, super easy for us to look back in hindsight and say, oh, should have done this, should have done that. But obviously, you're going to get some criticism after the 3-0 loss when we predicted a win. We will talk about the bowlers, but we're going to take a quick break. We will come back and talk a little bit about India's bowlers and then what went wrong, and save a few minutes at the end of the episode, maybe to talk about our under-19 boys who seem to be bringing some joy in this otherwise week of bad news. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk to Shefali Bhatt. She's the tech and culture reporter from The Mint. She gives her views on meme culture, the creator economy, and other internet trends. Check out our new podcast on parenting, Big Talk About Tiny Humans. In the first episode, hosts Devi Shobha and Meghna stress on the importance of eating together as a family. What are the current trends amongst global investors? Viraj Nanda, co-founder of Globalize, tells Anupam all about it on Paisa Vaisa. The Simplified Gang decode all the groundbreaking things that NASA's new James Webb Telescope can do. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss the recent Quad Summit that PM Modi was a part of. And on the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik asks Devaya Bopanna about starting India's first DAO. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And also remember, you can check out a lot of our stuff on YouTube. Go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube and you'll get a list of all the various channels that we do have. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. DJ, the first and second ODIs, like we said, Venkatesh Iyer played at 6. And then we played 3 quicks and 2 spinners, with Thakur batting at 7, Ashwin at 8, Bhuvi, Bumrah, and then Chahal to round out the 3 bowlers. Thakur at 7 actually saved our bacon a little bit in that second ODI, if you will. But in the first ODI, of course, and even in the second, I think he made 50 in the first and 40 in the second. And of course, India fell short in both matches. But I mean, Shardul Thakur at 7, and then you're relying on him for a half century. That was the point, right? With Venkatesh making single-digit scores, Ashwin making single-digit, Shreyas Iyer 17, KL Rahul 12. Like, what are your thoughts on the bowling selection, first off?
I mean, with Shardul batting at 7, I think it pretty much tells you everything you need to know, right? It's not just the bowling selection, it's the overall composition of the team. India's most successful era with ODI cricket was when you had MS Dhoni, Suresh Raina, and Yuvraj Singh batting 4, 5, 6, maybe 7 sometimes.
5, 6, 7, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. With Shardul Thakur, yes, he scored runs.
And sorry, not when you had that 5, 6, 7 or 4, 5, 6, Yuvraj was a bowling option. Raina was a bowling
Raina
option.
could bowl as well.
Sachin was a bowling option, and Sehwag was a bowling option.
Yeah.
So you had 4 options to. Yes, often we played 4 bowlers and then relied on these 4 guys to give you 10. But man, they would easily give you 10 overs, sometimes 15, 17 overs. So anyway.
Yeah, and it's with Shardul Thakur batting at 7. I mean, let's be honest, he isn't Jadeja. Jadeja can bat 7. Jadeja can hold himself batting 7. Shardul can bat 8. So, I mean, Venkatesh Iyer could bat 7. He's a good enough 7, but he's not a good enough bowler to be playing as a bowling all-rounder. So, I mean, honestly, the problems remain the same. We don't have that batter who can bowl 4, 5 overs consistently. We thought we had him in Pandya, right? Hardik Pandya. His stock has gone up by like a million times. He's also captain of Ahmedabad now, along with his other Coffee with Karan friend who's captain of Lucknow, which is amazing. 3 years on, these guys are captaining IPL teams. Fantastic.
Let's talk a little before we talk more about the specific ODIs and a little bit of kudos to South Africa, obviously, for their performances. But do our issues get solved with Rohit at the top and then 6 and 7 being Pandya and Jadeja? Because that's now, let's call it 3-4 overs from Hardik. Even Jadeja is a solid world-class number 7 bat and a bowler who can give you 10 overs. And then you have room for 4 bowlers. Heck, if some are Shardul and Chahar, suddenly you bat till 9, bat half decently till 9. Whereas today in this third ODI, we basically batted till 6. So do those problems get solved, or are some of the fundamental issues still there? And, Dravid and Rahul and Rohit, when he comes back, need to work on the fundamentals.
So we need an overhaul on how we play ODI cricket. We don't need Rohit opening the batting. He's not... You've got enough opening batters. You need someone who can score runs in the middle overs, who can play spin well, who can hit sixes in the middle overs. And who are those players? Who can play with responsibility, who've been around for a while. Imagine a team where you have Virat Kohli batting at 3 and Rohit Sharma batting at 4. Or Rohit Sharma batting at 3 and Virat Kohli batting at 4. With the opposition has come in after a Ruturaj and a Shikhar, or a Ishan Kishan and a Ruturaj, or an Ishan Kishan and a KL Rahul have taken off in the first 15 overs. I'm talking about going back to 1996 when Jayasurya and Kalu Ithrana smashed every ball out of the park. Why don't we play cricket like that anymore? There's no reason why we don't do that. You can have the safety blanket of the experienced guys in the middle order. Let the Sky, let the Rohit, let the Virat, let the Iyer, those guys bat in the middle order. But give license to a Pant, a Kishan, a Rutu, a KL to go up top and smash it. And you can't keep saying, okay, Rohit is he's opened the batting, he's had so much success, scored 500 in the last World Cup. Did you win the last World Cup? You did. What are you going to do?
It's because we were 15 for 3 against New Zealand.
Yeah, but you need to adapt to it. You need to think of ways of how you're going to win the next World Cup. And in India, you're not going to win the next World Cup scoring 280 for 6. You're not. You need to score 320, 330, 340. Even that won't be safe. Right?
But, it is interesting.
And that's the ODI World Cup that we're talking about, right? Look at how England play.
Yeah. We shouldn't talk about England.
Or our under-19 boys play, for example.
No, I mean, I agree. But let's first talk quickly about the opposition. And then I want to talk a little about the choices to make some changes for that third ODI. But, first ODI, put into bat, South Africa make 296 for 4. It was interesting because they lost the first wicket quickly. And then Quinton de Kock also didn't really fire. And then Adam Markram got quickly. So if you told me in the first ODI, 68, I think they were for 3 in the first 20 overs, that's great. And then a 204-run partnership between Temba Bavuma, who has just looked outstanding. I know he had a lot of naysayers in South Africa, but man, has he showed up this whole series. And then Rassie Vanderdusen, who had a mixed test series, but continues to have this magical streak with the white ball. I mean, that's basically what India's missed, right? 3 down, and you have 2 guys, one who's your number 3 batsman, one who's your number 5 batsman, come in and just forge a 200-run partnership for the fourth wicket. That's what India was missing, arguably, right?
Yeah, for years we had it as well, if you remember.
Yeah.
Kohli and Dhoni, Kohli and Yuvi and Dhoni. We had it, and I mean, honestly, Vanderdusen, it felt like I watched him bat this entire ODI series.
Yeah.
Every time I turned on the TV, the guy was batting.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, credit
He
to
made
him.
a century, a 50, and a 37, I think. Quinton de Kock made a century, a 78, and a 27. Just unbelievable.
Yeah, but you see,
91 one game.
Pant missed de Kock in the second game at a very crucial point of Ashwin. At a really crucial point. And de Kock went and scored 78 or something after that. That miss, I think, cost us a lot. It cost us that game. I'd say the ball was turning. No stumping is easy. Fine. Today, again, Pant dropped Vanderdusen twice. I think our out cricket this series was generally quite sloppy. It was sloppy. There were overthrows. There were misfields. It was... Honestly, this team, it looks tired. And I don't know about you, but man, like, honestly, following this team since it feels like cricket has been non-stop. I think there's a week where there's no cricket for 2 weeks coming up, right? I think it's 4th of Feb is when, or the 6th of Feb is the next ODI against the West Indies. But it feels like it's just been non-stop. These guys have been on that hamster wheel, running in COVID bubbles, playing cricket, and you can't keep performing miracles consistently. And I think they are just tired. They're jaded. They need a break. Genuinely, they need to be given some time off.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I would agree with that. I mean, we've said a lot of different things. One of which is strategy is wrong, approach is wrong. The other is, of course, they're tired, etc. The other third is missing some key players. But I fully agree with the fatigue factor, not just physical but also mental, right? And I want to just ask you really quickly, Virat Kohli, right? We're big fans of his, and we'll spend some time in the final segment of the show talking bright spots from the series because there were a few. But he got 2 half centuries. Yes, the third innings was a duck, but he got a 51 and a 60 odd. Let's talk about, we will look into this more than we should. But when he scored his half century today, there was a lovely shot of, his wife and daughter in the dressing room, and he did the baby celebration, which I think Darren Sammy first did in cricket. And it was just a nice moment. But has Virat been a little more subdued in terms of his, energy on the field, and is an element of the fatigue that we're seeing, DJ, that dealing with these backroom politics and the issues and the Virat stepping down from white ball captaincy to focus on red ball captaincy, and then a month later stepping down from red ball also, because is there an element of fatigue from that? And did we miss Virat? I guess I'm asking a very long-winded question, but was the difference between a 50-60 run Virat and a century Virat that aggression and intensity that just was missing because he's fatigued mentally?
So there is no doubt everyone is fatigued mentally in this team. To my mind, everyone is struggling. And the extra shenanigans Kohli's had to go through in the public eye, we must remember these guys have really public successes and failures, right? And he's probably learned to deal with it better over time as he's scaled those massive heights and set those huge standards for himself. But it's like you and me we have our appraisals, but they're in closed doors, right? Like you have them behind closed doors with your boss. This guy's appraisal is written out in every single newspaper all over the world. Australia, they're worried about Virat Kohli. ICC's tweeting about him. ECB, Barmy Army, when he doesn't score runs, is tweeting about it. But it's, there's no doubt it takes its toll on you mentally, no matter how mentally strong you are. It has to. It absolutely has to. He did not want to let's be very clear about it. He did not want to give up the ODI captaincy or the Test captaincy. He has been forced out of it. In the initial resignation that he put forward, he said, I look forward to continuing to lead my team in Test matches and ODIs. He has, through whatever back-channeling, backroom politics, has been removed. as captain of India in all three formats. He was till a few months ago. Till what, 2 months ago, 3 months ago? He was captain in all three formats.
Yeah, I think September, October for sure, right? He was all three format captain with no
And I mean,
question about it.
yeah, and he gave one up by the sounds of it voluntarily. And he's only captained in 3 world tournaments. One, he's reached the final of the ICC Trophy 2017. One, he's reached the semi-final of the World Cup 2019. And the disaster that was the T20 World Cup. But by that time, they were pretty cooked, right? After the IPL and stuff.
And the finals of the World Test Championship.
Yeah, but that's a one-off game. So, yeah, but it's over
No, but
2 years.
But I'm saying he reached the final.
True. And over 2
Right?
years, you've been the number one team, and you started as number.
It was a positive, yeah.
Yeah, so there was absolutely no way that this man was letting go of it, and he's had to let go of it. He's now playing under his subordinate, and I don't think he minds it. And he's doing his best to be a team player. He's doing his best to channel his energy in the right way. There was some chat about, he wasn't cursing when he got out, he wasn't swearing when he got out for a duck. We can't have it both ways, right? You can't say it's bad for children watching on TV if he doesn't say start abusing immediately after he gets out, and then you can't say, he doesn't care about his cricket because he's not cursing. There is no one on this planet, and I can guarantee you that, who cares more about Virat Kohli scoring runs than him, right? So I mean, he's tired. I think he needs a break. But every time he takes a break, it's like, why is he taking a break? He needs to do national duty. Dude, he's a human being. He's doing a job. Everybody, I have 4 weeks of holiday in a year. Does Virat Kohli get 4 weeks uninterrupted off? He doesn't. And okay, then you'll say, okay, yeah, he's got all the perks of being a superstar, and all of them do. But it comes with its downsides. And living in a bubble like this can't be easy over extended periods in foreign countries away from family. It just can't be. So it has taken its toll on King, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, nothing else to add. You summarized it really well. It's just a lot, and it's been a lot to deal with. And I think it's an opportunity for all of the board, the players, and then all of us as Team India fans to do some soul searching and figure out where we go from here. So I want to ask you a little bit about that. But before we wrap up kind of the specifics of this 3-match series, we cannot have an Edges and Sledges episode without talking in depth a little bit about our boy Rishabh Pant. Had 15, 16 runs in the first ODI, nothing great. Batting first in the second ODI, walks in as his skipper has just gotten out for duck and makes a magnificent 85. Suddenly, people, fall in love with him all over again. So this is just the model, right? A couple of bad knocks. Everybody says, who is Rishabh Pant? Why is he on the side? Then makes a brilliant century on the test match, and we fall in love with him. Then a couple of bad knocks, then 85 in the ODI to get us to a semi-respectable total. And then the next match comes out, gets out for a first baller. And so a lot of discussion on social media, like, should he have played more cautiously? Should he know better? It's very easy in hindsight. But had he hit that big shot and made contact and gone for 6, we would have said, wow, this guy hit a first ball 6 in the ODI. So what do we do about this guy, man? What do we do about this kid?
Just sit back and enjoy the roller coaster ride. I mean, you saw Virat Kohli's face after that shot, right? There's a great meme of Virat Kohli looking at.
He's just staring down. Yeah.
It's just incredible. But I mean, I think you asked me the question, which I totally forgot to answer. But I think our bowlers had a really bad series as well. From Ashwin to Chahal to Bumrah. I mean, firstly, we flogged Bumrah in all the 3 ODIs. We didn't give him a rest. To Bhuvi, I mean, I think Bhuvi's cooked. I think he's done. I think Chahar is the new Bhuvi.
It was actually sad to watch Bhuvi a little bit, man. Like, for those of us who watched Bhuvi in his prime, it was just a little sad more than anything.
Yeah, seeing him like that. I mean, he's the same guy who went through AB de Villiers on the last tour, middle stump out of the ground, right? Mm-hmm. I think he's been injured. I don't think he's really ever come back fully from that injury. Maybe it was last year or the year before that he got injured. And Bumrah, pretty ineffective, to be honest, in a way. He picked up a couple of wickets in one of the games, but I don't want Bumrah to go the Jofra Archer way. You need to wrap Bumrah in cotton wool and keep him fresh. Why he played all 3 ODIs, I have no idea. Ashwin, I don't think he's got a future in ODI cricket. If Washington Sundar is fit, I think Washi's going to walk back in Ashwin's spot. Chahal was a big disappointment for me as well. I mean, he bowled well in patches. He bowled those magic balls, but I don't know how many wickets he picked up. Did he pick up many this series? Did he pick up any this series? I mean, I think he picked up some in the collapse today,
I'm
right?
trying to pull it really quickly.
Yeah, there was 7 for
In the
73 today, so in the third ODI, so maybe he picked up some.
he
in
picked
those,
up 2 for 174. No, sorry, 2 for 147 in
yeah,
his
that's just
29
not good
overs.
enough. That's not
nearly
good
good enough, right?
And we were out. Spinners were outbowled by the South African spinners on spin-friendly wickets, and these are not ordinary spinners. This is Ravichandran Ashwin and Yuzvendra Chahal. They're both champion bowlers.
Ashwin was 1 for 120 in his 20 overs, right? So
At 6 an over and averaging 120, even I can do that math. Nice.
nice, very impressive. Hey, the
Yeah,
one
but
positive-
Chahar really impressed, right? Chahar and Shardul did themselves no harm, I think. Shardul batted pretty well in 2 games. And I mean, Deepak Chahar played a blinder today, and this was his second consecutive 50. Don't forget, he almost pulled off a repeat of what he did, I think, at the Premadasa, right?
He honestly should have. He was like 10 runs away from doing it when he got out, and he would have thought, okay, somebody else could take him over the line. I think for the sake of like the outcome and the soul searching, not getting the last gasp victory will help us, because 3-0 will often spurs more action than 2-1. But for the sake of Deepak Chahar, I think, he really wanted to take his team over the line. But
honestly, this feels like being back in the 90s when
just
like
not
India
able to
getting
do it,
thrashed 3-0, not able to get across the line when you
but
can
also
see it like in front of you.
Needing what, 10-ish runs to win the
It was
game
8 or
with
14 with 3 wickets left.
with 3 wickets and not being able to do it. That feels like the 90s.
There was a game when Henry Olonga took 3 wickets in the World Cup against Zimbabwe.
I remember
This
that.
reminded
For
me
Zimbabwe.
of that. But I mean, I remember being much more upset.
Yeah.
And it was 99 World Cup, I think. Anyway.
Including Sachin, if I remember correctly.
No, Sachin was back home because his dad had passed away.
Oh, didn't Olonga get
So
Sachin?
Sachin wasn't playing that game. That was in Sharjah. He got him out once,
right,
and then Sachin smashed him for like 100 in the next.
I don't remember any of
That
it.
was
But
Sachin anger in full power.
nice. Okay, DJ, we got to take another quick break. We'll be right back to talk about where Team India goes from here. So stay tuned.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Think Fast, Varun and Suchita talk to Shefali Bhatt. She's the tech and culture reporter from The Mint. She gives her views on meme culture, the creator economy, and other internet trends. Check out our new podcast on parenting, Big Talk About Tiny Humans. In the first episode, hosts Devi Shobha and Meghna stress on the importance of eating together as a family. What are the current trends amongst global investors? Viraj Nanda, co-founder of Globalize, tells Anupam all about it on Paisa Vaisa. The Simplified Gang decode all the groundbreaking things that NASA's new James Webb Telescope can do. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk discuss the recent Quad Summit that PM Modi was a part of. And on the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik asks Devaya Bopanna about starting India's first DAO. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening to us on. And also remember, you can check out a lot of our stuff on YouTube. Go to ivmpodcast.com/YouTube and you'll get a list of all the various channels that we do have. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Bank of Baroda and CoinSwitch Kuber. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back. DJ, we've been debriefing a tough week. I mean, in fairness, you and I have had some great highs together after Lords and GABA, and like we've had some fun debrief episodes after some big victories. And that also means our responsibility as podcasters is to cover the stuff that's unfortunate. And so I want to ask you first quickly about the changes that we made for the third ODI, right? Surya Kumar Yadav was brought in. A lot of naysayers saying he should have played all. Like every time he goes out to bat, yes, he made 39. He could have probably stayed a little bit longer and taken the team to victory. But a lot of people who watch him say this guy looks like he belongs. It's a bit silly that we had him on the squad and didn't play him the first few matches. And then we already talked about Deepak Chahar, but looked good with the ball, looked great with the bat, got a magnificent 50. And then Prasidh Krishna and Jayant Yadav came in. Are these just kind of, hey, these guys are here, let's throw them a bone? Or is any of these choices, arguably maybe Chahar, but any of the other choices a long-term play that are we really trying Prasidh Krishna or Jayant Yadav as a long-term option for us?
Not to my mind. If Siraj was fit, he would have played. If Shami was fit, he would have played ahead of these guys, right? So I don't know why Shami didn't play though. Is he unfit or is he gone home? Maybe
I don't remember actually. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, frankly, I don't see Prasidh Krishna ahead of either Siraj. Even Umesh is probably ahead of him in the pecking order. There's Navdeep Saini. There's quite a few, but I'd like to see a lefty at some point. I don't know why we're not using this period to find talent for the future. You've got how many 18 months left for the next World Cup, or when is the next World Cup in India? It's October-ish next year, I think.
Yeah, it'll be fall
2023.
next year. So yeah.
Yeah, so you need to start thinking about what your combinations are going to be, right? Like if you're only going to play two quicks, just start playing two quicks from now. Start playing your spinners, your frontline spinners, because it's going to be in India. Who's your third spinner going to be? Is it going to be Jayant Yadav? Maybe that's why they're playing him.
So
Because he can bat
let's
a
talk
bit.
that then. Let's quickly talk that before we wrap up. Two series coming up in India, but against Sri Lanka, against West Indies and Sri Lanka. They'll be at home. So arguably, does the team start looking like, where do we go from here? There's two ways this can go, right? Neither squad has been announced. There's the route we've taken before, which is, hey, don't play. Kohli chooses to take a break, which he maybe needs. Rohit, may not be fully back yet. Bumrah, we rest him, etc., and then we try some other guys. Or there's the, hey, this is where we need to start building our ODI squad, because is there an element of we keep playing against these teams that are lower ranked in 50 over formats on home ground, winning, feeling great about ourselves, but when push comes to shove, the teams that win those matches are not the exact same composition that go to World Cups, because Rohit, Kohli, Bumrah may be missing from those series. So if you're the coach / selectors, where do you go from here for the upcoming series? What's the game plan for West Indies and Sri Lanka?
So for me, it's quite simple. Play the combinations that you want to play. Think of the World Cup as being this year. Start playing the combinations that you want to play in the World Cup. Start batting and bowling players, and bowling people at the right time is also an important skill. When you bring them back to get a breakthrough, like Zahir Khan used to come back in the 34th, 35th over when the ball used to be changed in the 2011 World Cup to try and pick up wickets. So he used to do a couple overs then. Then he used to come back at the death again. You need to start building your patterns as to what you want to do in the field. And if players are missing out, say Virat Kohli is missing out, he doesn't want to play. I'm not saying he's not. But if he decides to rest, you should bat his replacement in Virat Kohli's spot. You should be batting someone. If Virat Kohli on the day of the World Cup final gets injured, who are you going to bat in his spot? Is it going to be Sky? Or are you going to be scrambling for KL Rahul to bat at 3? It makes no sense. Start batting people. If Rohit is injured, don't push Rahul up to open the batting.
Play a like for like opener so that Rohit can slot.
So that Rahul knows he's batting a situation. And he bats that situation many, many times. That's what preparation is, right? Why do people practice speeches in front of mirrors? It's so that they can deliver it flawlessly when the occasion demands it. So that's what preparation is, and that's what they need to do with these two series. They don't need to win. I don't know. It's probably called a Paytm series, I'm sure. So there'll be all the Paytm jokes that start. But I mean, it's not about winning the series. It's about testing your combinations. It's testing players in match situations, which is why playing Rituraj would have been good, because you're building his confidence that he can bat in that situation. And he's an IPL orange cap winner. Why aren't you giving him that confidence? Which other IPL orange cap winner hasn't played for their nation straight after?
A good question. It's an interesting question. And then lastly, before we talk a couple other things in the world of cricket, the bowlers, right? Bumrah obviously is going to be a mainstay, but what do you do if you're the Indian selectors? Let me start. I think Jadeja obviously walks right back into the side. I think Bumrah we need to figure out who his first choice spearhead quick bowling partner is in India, right? I would lean towards assuming Shami, but there's a world where you play Chahar / Shardul as the second quick, because they give you batting, because they give you batting options and can do better in India as well, potentially. And then if a Hardik is fit, then he gives you 4 or 5 extra overs of quick batting at 6. I play Jadeja at 7. And then there's an interesting choice to be made for the other 2 spinners. Does Ashwin just walk back into the 50 over side, even if it's been played in India? Where do you think about him? Akshar Patel and a role like that, because Akshar Patel at 8 again changes your batting depth suddenly, right? He's a great bowler with the white ball. Give him 10 overs and batted 8. So how do you think about this bowling combination ahead of the World Cup as well?
Again, I'm okay if Jadeja isn't playing, play Akshar. Because you're grooming him for Jadeja's spot. Jadeja injured, turns up stiff on the day of the final. You can play Akshar instead, right? So I don't know if Ashwin. I mean, he's a great test bowler at home, man. He genuinely is a great test bowler at home, and he's got so much skill. But you saw him go into his shell once he started getting hit in this series. Like when he was giving the ball flight, he was bowling beautifully, and like that's when he looked like he was going to take wickets because he was turning. Bowling in an ODI game is quite different from bowling in a test match, right? Because you don't have those attacking fields. It's different. The batsmen are going after you. So, and Ashwin hasn't played an ODI series since 2017. I think back in June, probably the Champions Trophy was when his last ODI game was. It's credit to him that he's fought his way back into the side. But honestly, if a Washington Sundar is fit, I mean, I think he's probably getting into this team ahead of Ashwin just because of the class that he shows with his batting and the control that he shows with his bowling. He can open the bowling with Washington Sundar, right? Like, which is what Ashwin used to do back in the day. And that was Ashwin's value, bowling with the new ball taking wickets, and Washi can do that. So for me, Washi's fitness is going to be a key sort of indicator. And if he's fit, I think Ashwin, unfortunately, sits out, and it has to also do with Ashwin in the field. He does look a bit, he looks a bit clunky, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah, I think that sums it up well. Lots of work ahead of us, lots of decision making. I hope people do think about it the way you do, which is like, hey, there's always going to be like for like replacements, but when people slot in and out, constantly flowing back and forth and not giving people certainty of their position, their role, etc., makes it difficult. That said, it's been an interesting series. Kudos to Team South Africa. Kudos to Quinton de Kock, who obviously announced his retirement from red ball cricket, but has showed up and, announced to the world and with a stamp of authority that he's here to stay when it comes to white ball cricket. Made a phenomenal century this morning at the time of recording this. And India has some soul searching to do. But DJ, we'll wrap up this week with a little bit more positive news from Indian men's cricket. And that is or maybe it's not even men's cricket, maybe it's boys cricket. It's the under-19 boys. Wrapped up the group stages of the tournament, top of the group, 3 wins from 3, a magnificent net run rate, including making 405 against Uganda in the latest match. So by the time, we're not going to deep dive into it because the next couple of weeks, there's no Team India men's ODI cricket. And so maybe next week we'll talk a little bit more about the World Cup. But any quick thoughts? The Under-19 World Cup, for me, for the first time I remember, or it happened once before, but ESPN is broadcasting it in the US. And so it's great. I get to keep it on. I get to watch it. Time zones are good for me. But just great to see the next gen doing well. And you have to believe we have a reasonable shot, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I did complain at the start of this episode about there being so much cricket and it's so tiring following it. But I think the day after India lost the Test series, the Indian under-19 boys were playing the South African
against
under-19 boys.
Yeah. It's perfect.
I couldn't help it. I turned on Sky and had to watch
of
it.
Course,
I think, is it Oswal, the left armour?
Yeah, he picked up a 5 for against.
He was superb, man. He's got some really nice dip and flight and rip. So he was great, and it felt kind of nice. It felt like we'd taken a little bit of revenge. I really enjoyed our captain as well. I also like his press conferences because he speaks in Hindi and he doesn't worry about translations and stuff, and it's totally cool. I think he's from Delhi, middle order Delhi batsman, which of course reminds us of another skipper who's just given up all three.
Another under-19 skipper, right? Too.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, it's refreshing as well in a way watching these youngsters, because like when they miss a direct hit, they're all like this, and like the reactions are similar but almost more innocent than the ones that you see of the senior men. So I actually want to see, I don't know, we seem to be blooding youngsters sort of slower and slower. Like India and Pakistan were known for putting their youngsters out to the national team really early. Like Sachin made his debut when he was 16. I think Hassan Raza scored 100 for Pakistan when he was 15 or 14 or something like that, which is absurd, right, if you think about it. And maybe, I don't know what the birth certificate, Shahid Afridi is still between 16 and 19 years old. Yet he's playing the Legends game, clearly, and also the PSL. But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it. And they broke like all sorts of world records. I think they scored 406 or 408 against Uganda. And then bowled them out for 70 odd. So I watched that as well yesterday. So yeah, I mean, all the luck to those guys, man. They're having the time of their lives. Obviously, there's still pressure on them. If you're representing India at any level, you're wearing that blue jersey, there is going to be pressure on you, and they seem to be dealing with it really maturely. It's a good time as well to be scoring runs and taking wickets. The IPL mega auction is coming up.
Yeah, some of
There's
these
going
guys
to
will
be
get some big bids.
yeah, there's going to be a lot of teams looking for some young uncapped players. So
I,
yeah.
I will leave you with this for DJ, you and all of our listeners. There's been some good stats going around about under-19 World Cups from days past. In the 2006 under-19 World Cup held in Sri Lanka, the highest ODI run scorer was a man named Cheteshwar Pujara.
Was it?
Like 349 in 6 innings at a strike rate of 82, not great. The second highest run scorer was Owen Morgan. Number 4 on that list, Dean Elgar. Further down on that list, Rohit Sharma, Aaron Finch, Angelo Matthews, Moses Enriques, Usman Khawaja. There's a lot of other names as well in there, but pretty amazing to see that some of these guys have gone on to do well for their countries. So we'll be supporting the under-19 boys in blue. That brings us to a wrap of this week's episode. It's been a tough one. Always good to relive the fond memories, and interesting and important to relive the rougher ones, but hopefully greener pastures from here on for Team India. For our listeners, thank you as always for listening. Send us your messages, feedback on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We're at One Tip, One Hand. Do leave us a review on Apple or now on Spotify as well. You can review us. So leave us a review, but especially only if you're thinking of giving us 5 stars. If not, then we'd love to hear from you on why not. And we want to make this show better. But that brings us to a wrap. DJ, thanks you for joining me. This has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast, signing off.